Ladies and gentlemen, places. We're on the air in 5, 4, 3.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what?
You've been drinking.
It's cold. A man's got to do something to keep warm.
Well, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're supposed to be Santa Claus. Don't you realize there are thousands of children lining the streets waiting to see you? Children who've been dreaming of this moment for weeks. You're a disgrace to the tradition of Christmas. I refuse to let you malign me in this fashion.
Is that so?
Tell me, who is in charge of this parade?
When you find out, you tell me. These pants are going to fall off in the middle of Columbus Circle.
There you are! What are you doing out of costume? Now you get back and get dressed. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I thought you were our Santa Claus.
Your Santa Claus is intoxicated.
Oh?
Oh, yes, and it's disgraceful.
Jingle bells, jingle.
What do you mean drinking? You know it's not allowed.
It's cold. A man's got to do something.
You need some black coffee. Plenty of it.
Oh, yes, black, with plenty of schnapps.
Why, I ought to take this cane and just...
Wake me up when the parade starts. Jingle bells, jingle.
Oh.
Shameful. Absolutely shameful.
Could you be our Santa Claus? Have you had any experience?
Well, a little. But, madam, I am not in the habit of substituting for spurious Santa Clauses.
Oh, please. You've got to help me out.
No, Well, the children mustn't be disappointed.
Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Flakes, bring you the Lux Radio Theater presentation of Miracle on 34th Street. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we take up a question as old as the spirit of Christmas itself. Is there a Santa Claus? Our story is wrapped in a gay covering of laughter, tied with a bright ribbon of humor and decorated with love. This Christmas week, when most of us think of Lux Flakes as a friendly gift, I'm in the position of thanking Lux Flakes for a friendly gift. The opportunity to be with you this Christmas presentation through the magic medium of radio. But I imagine many of you housewives feel grateful also for different reasons. Lux Flakes, I'm sure, hold out to you the gift of greater leisure, long life for your precious fabrics, and added sparkle to your silverware and dishes. Perhaps some of you are gathered around your Christmas tree as you listen. Others might be preparing for that event a few days from now with Lux Flakes decorating your tree as shining snow. Later, we'll tell you how to accomplish that magic. Right now, it's time for our play. Act 1 begins on Thanksgiving Day in New York City. On Fifth Avenue, adjoining Central Park, an annual event is being joyfully awaited. The spectacular parade presented by Macy's department store to herald in the Christmas season. A little away from the crowd are two of Macy's public relations experts.
He's simply wonderful, Mrs. Walker. Just look at him on the parade float. The most realistic Santa Claus we've ever had. Why, he didn't even need any padding, did he?
Padding?
Well, didn't you notice his tummy? So round, so firm, so fully packed. Well, now that's everything under control. Where on earth did you find him?
I don't know. I just turned around and there he was.
And to think that the man whose place he took was intoxicated. A cockeyed Santa Claus in Macy's parade.
With breath that would knock over a reindeer.
Just think if Mr. Macy had seen him.
What if Mr. Gimble had seen him? Competition between our stores is tough enough as it is.
Well, the parade's starting. Let's stand on the curb.
Oh, not I, Mr. Shellhammer. I'm going home and relax. Anyway, I can see it from there. I live just around the corner.
Oh, so you do. Well, see you tomorrow, Mrs. Walker, and congratulations on finding the best Santa Claus in Macy's history.
It certainly is a wonderful parade, Susie. Just look at that clown. Wow, gosh, what a giant.
Giant, Mr. Gailey? There are no such things as giants.
Well, maybe not now, but in the olden days.
Really, Mr. Gailey?
Well, what about the giant that Jack killed? You know, Jack and the Beanstalk.
Everybody knows that that's a fairy tale.
Haven't your father or mother ever told you fairy tales?
No. My mother thinks that they're silly. I don't know if my father thinks they're silly or not. I never met my father. You see, my father and mother were divorced when I was a baby.
Oh. Well, anyway, that clown certainly looks like a giant.
Well, people sometimes grow very large, but that's abnormal.
I bet your mother told you that too.
Uh-huh.
Come in.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan's mother, and my maid said that,
Oh, hello, Mother. I'm watching the parade. Mr. Gailey invited me.
Hello, darling.
Susie's told me quite a lot about you, Mrs. Walker.
She's told me quite a lot about you, too. The lawyer in the front apartment.
Well, this is all part of the plot, Mrs. Walker. I'm very fond of Susie, but I really also wanted to meet you.
What a terrible trick!
Well, it worked.
Susan, what do you think of my parade?
Oh, much better than last year's. Oh, there goes Santa Claus.
Oh, don't even mention that name.
Why not, Mother?
That Santa Claus you see is a last-minute substitute.
Well, but why?
Remember the way the janitor was last New Year's?
Oh my, yes, tight as an owl.
Oh, I see Susie doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
That's right, she never has.
Well, that's the end of the parade. Mother, I've been thinking, it's Thanksgiving and there are only the two of us, and couldn't we invite Mr. Gailey?
Well,
Don't bother. No. I'll have a sandwich or something.
But we have such a big turkey. Please, Mother, please. Did I ask all right, Mr. Gailey?
Susie, shh.
You asked just fine, Susan. Dinner's at 3, Mr. Gailey.
Hello, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, Mr. Shellhammer?
Your maid said you had Thanksgiving dinner, but I just had to tell you, your Santa Claus was stupendous.
Oh, well, thank you.
Mr. Macy himself wants him to be our toy department Santa Claus.
Oh, fine. Can you hire him?
I already have. He's a bone salesman. I can just feel it.
Good. We'll talk about it in the morning. Thanks for calling, Mr. Shellhammer.
Right this way, Mr. Kringle. I'm Alfred, the store janitor. I'll bring you to the toy department. Gee, what a nice costume.
Oh, thank you, Alfred. I've had it for years and years.
Sure makes a bum out of the one I wear when I play Santa at the Y.
Oh, do you enjoy impersonating me, Alfred?
Oh, yeah. It's just when I give packages to the little kids, I don't know. They get that Christmas look all of a sudden. That makes me feel kind of good and important.
There you are.
Here he is, Mr. Shellhammer. Here's Santa Claus.
Thank you, Alfred. Good morning, Santa Claus.
Good morning.
Now, before you go to the toy department, here's a list of toys I want you to push. You know, things we're overstocked on. Now, you'll find that a great many children will be undecided as to what they want for Christmas. When that happens, you immediately suggest one of these items. You understand?
I certainly do.
Fine. Now, take the list, and Alfred will show you to your throne in the toy department. And don't forget, you're working for Macy's.
Imagine making a child take something he doesn't want. That's what I've been fighting against all these years. The way they commercialize Christmas.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad isms floating around this world. But one of the worst is commercialism. Make a buck. Make a buck. Never mind what Christmas stands for. Just make a buck. Make a buck.
I'm tearing up this list.
Great idea. Just throw it on the floor. I'll take care of it. I kind of get tired of just sweeping up dust all the time.
Well, I'll be off then. Lots of children waiting to see me.
Are you really Santa Claus?
Why, of course I am. And what do you want for Christmas, little boy?
I want a fire engine with the real hose that squirts real wet water, and I won't do it in the house. I'll only do it in the backyard, I promise.
And I promise you'll get your fire engine.
You see, Mama, I told you he'd get me one.
That's fine. That's just dandy. You wait here, Joey. Mama wants to thank Santa Claus, too.
Yes, madam?
Say, what's the matter with you?
No. What's the trouble?
I told you before, didn't I? The kid wants a fire engine, but there's not one to be had anywhere in town. Macy's ain't got one. Gimbel's ain't got any. Nobody's got any. My feet are killing me, and you say, okay, he gets the fire engine.
But you can get those fire engines at Schoenfeld's on Lexington Avenue, only $4.50. A wonderful bargain.
Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Hey, I don't get it.
Oh, I follow the toy market very closely.
Macy's sending people to other stores?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
The one important thing is to make the children happy. Whether Macy's or somebody else sells the toy, doesn't matter. Don't you feel that way?
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, sure. Only I didn't know Macy's did. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Who's next, please? Right this way to see Santa Claus. All right, little boy, you're next.
Of course, little boy, you want some roller skates. Well, you shall have them too.
Mama, he's going to get me some roller skates.
And he has some fine skates here at Macy's, haven't you, Santa?
Oh, they're good skates, all right, but not quite good enough. Now, I left some really wonderful roller skates at Gimbel's. I'm sure Gimbel's will have just what this good little boy wants.
Mr. Shellhammer? Are you Mr. Shellhammer?
Gimbals? Gimbals? That's just what he did say. Gimbals?
Oh, the sales lady said I should speak to you.
Gimbals?
I just wanted to congratulate you and Macy's on this wonderful new stunt you're pulling.
Gimbals?
Imagine a big outfit like Macy's putting the spirit of Christmas ahead of the commercial.
Gimbals?
I'll tell you something. I've never done much shopping here before, but from now on, I'm going to be a regular Macy customer. All right, Joey, we're going.
Gimbals?
There's the toy department over there, Mr. Gailey.
Well, you certainly know all about Macy's store, don't you, Susie?
Well, that's because my mother works here. But I still think it's silly bringing me here to see Santa Claus.
I just felt that if you got the chance to talk to him.
Okay, Mr. Gailey. I'm willing to try.
Well, what a fine young lady. And what's your name, little girl?
Susan Walker. What's yours?
Mine? Kris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't believe that, eh?
No. You see, My mother's Mrs. Walker. She hired you.
Oh,
But I must say, you're the best looking Santa Claus I've ever seen.
really?
Well, your beard, for instance, it doesn't have one of those things that goes over your ears.
Well, that's because it's real. Just like I'm really Santa Claus. Oh, go ahead, pull it.
Well, oh my goodness, it is real.
And now, what would you like me to bring you for Christmas?
Nothing, thank you. Whatever I want, my mother will get for me, as long as it's sensible and doesn't cost too much.
That's quite right, Susan.
Oh, hello, Mother.
Good morning, Mrs. Walker.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Gailey.
The explanation for this is really quite simple. Your maid sprained her ankle. She had to go home, so she asked me to bring Susie down here to you. As long as we were here, I figured we might as well say hello to Santa Claus.
He has real whiskers, Mother.
Susan, would you excuse us a moment?
If you want me to.
I shouldn't have brought Susie here to see Santa Claus. Is that it?
Well, now you're making me feel completely heartless.
I'm sorry.
Don't you see? I tell Susan that Santa Claus is a myth, and you show her a very convincing old man with real whiskers. Whom is she to believe?
Well, yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Look, when Susan was a baby, her father and I were divorced. Ever since then, I've protected my child by teaching her realities. And if you don't believe in fairy tales and fantasy, you can never be hurt or disillusioned.
We were talking about Susie, right, Mrs. Walker?
And I must ask you to let me raise her as I see fit.
Hello, little girl. What's your name?
She doesn't speak English. We've just adopted her. She was orphaned in the war.
Guten Morgen, liebes Kind. Wie heißt du?
Ingrid?
Gut, was möchtest du denn zu Weihnachten?
Oh, ein Fahrrad, bitte?
Oh, das klingt gut. Möchtest du auch eine Puppe?
Oh ja, danke, Weihnachtsmann.
Vermisst du Deutschland?
Oh ja, denn dort habe ich immer mit Mama und Papa gesungen.
Na dann, lass uns singen. Alle meine Entchen schwimmen auf dem See, schwimmen auf dem See. Kopfchen in das Wasser, Schwanzchen in die Höhe. Das ist gut.
Oh, danke, Weihnachtsmann. Und hier ist ein Kuss für dich.
Mother, the most wonderful thing just happened. That man really is Santa. He just spoke to a little girl in German, and it was like magic. He made her so happy. He was just so...
Susan, I speak French, but that doesn't make me Joan of Arc.
But
Let's run along to my office. Now.
Alfred said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Oh, yes. I'd be very grateful if you'll please tell Susan you're not really Santa Claus. That there really is no such person.
Oh, but Mrs. Walker, not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
No. You misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. Now, what's your real name?
Kris Kringle, and I always tell the truth. Susan, I'll bet you're in the first grade.
second, it's a progressive school.
I mean your real name.
Oh, that is my real name. My goodness, second grade.
Very well. I have your employment card right here. I'll look it up on that.
That's a very cute dress, Susie.
It's from Macy's. We get 10% off.
Oh,
So you always tell the truth, do you? Look at your employment card.
Name, Kris Kringle. Address, Brooks Memorial Home, Great Neck, Long Island. You may call the home if you'd care to confirm that Mrs. Walker, it's a home for elderly gentlemen.
Would you also like me to confirm this?
What's that?
Date of birth. As old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Place of birth. North Pole. Now, really.
Why, I believe you doubt me, Mrs. Walker.
Oh, and this tops everything. Next of kin.
Oh, that.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen. I'm sorry to have to do this, Mr.
Kringle?
Yeah. But the Santa Claus that we hired 2 years ago is he's up back in town, and I feel that we owe it to him to
Have I done something wrong?
Oh no, it's just that we feel excuse me. Hello?
This is Mr. Shellhammer, Mrs. Walker. Drop whatever you're doing. Mr. Macy wants to see us immediately.
I'll be right up. I'm afraid I'm going to have to be very abrupt with you. I have to go see Mr. Macy. You'll be paid for the full week, Mr. Kringle. I'll send your check to that address.
Well, come right in, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Shellhammer.
Thank you, Mr. Macy.
Now, about this new policy you two initiated.
Oh,
Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbals?
I can explain everything, Mr. Macy.
You don't have to explain a thing. Just look at my desk. 42 telegrams, over 500 phone calls. Grateful parents expressing undying gratitude to Macy's department store.
You don't say.
From now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue in this manner, but every salesperson in our entire store.
You mean if we haven't got what the customer asked for, we're to
send him to where he can get it. No high pressuring and forcing a customer to take something he doesn't really want.
Oh, I think that's wonderful, Mr. Macy.
Yes, will be known as the helpful store, the friendly store, the store that places public service above profits. And consequently, will make more profits than ever. As for you, Mrs. Walker and Mr. Shellhammer, you'll find a more practical expression of my gratitude in your Christmas envelopes.
Thank
you.
And tell that wonderful Santa Claus I won't forget him either. Matter of fact, I'll tell him myself in the morning.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Macy.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Macy.
And thank you again, sir. Imagine a bonus.
Yeah.
Well, what's the matter with you?
Mr. Shellhammer, I just fired him.
Who?
Santa Claus.
Oh, no. You couldn't have.
But I did. He's crazy, Mr. Shellhammer. He really thinks he is Santa Claus.
I don't care if he thinks he's the Easter Bunny. Find him. Oh, no.
In a moment, we'll continue with Miracle on 34th Street. Right now, it's time to check in with our roving reporter, Libby Collins. So, Libby, have you decided what you'd like Santa to bring you for Christmas?
Well, Mr. Keeley, in fact, I have. I've asked for a very smart pair of Chinese two-piece pajamas with a three-quarter coat and a little upstanding collar, just like the ones Marta Torin wore in Rogue's Regiment.
What a wonderful picture. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. And you talk about pajamas.
These pajamas are really quite special. Marta was so delighted with them, she had the wardrobe department create several more just for her personal use.
They sound marvelous, Libby.
They are, but even better when Marta discovered she could lux them.
That's about the easiest care in the world. Especially now with the new tiny diamonds of Lux, another triumph of the famous Lever Laboratories. These tiny diamonds are so fast they burst into foam the minute the water touches them, and they make wonderfully rich suds that last and last.
Don't colors look marvelous when they're luxed? So fresh and new. No wonder smart girls say they won't risk wrong washing methods with their lingerie.
Tests prove that gentle care with wonderfully rich Lux really makes a difference. Luxed slips and stockings last 3 times longer. Why, that's like getting 3 pretty slips for the price of 1.
A really thoughtful Santa would put a box of Lux into your stockings this Christmas.
Thanks to our wonderful reporter, Libby Collins. But a word of fair warning to Santa Claus. I don't know if you'll be able to fill Libby's stockings quite as well as she does. Now, back to Act 2 of Miracle on 34th Street. It was a frantic few hours that Doris spent last night rushing out to the Brooks Memorial Home in Long Island and assuring Kris Kringle that Macy's wanted him back as Santa Claus. So Kris is again presiding over the crowded toy department, while in her office, Doris meets with Mr. Shellhammer.
Thank goodness you got him back, Mrs. Walker.
You don't understand, Mr. Shellhammer. That old man with the white whiskers insists that he is Santa Claus. He's out of his mind. What if he should have a fit or something? Oh, I've got to tell Mr. Macy.
But maybe he's only a little crazy, like painters or actors or some of those men in Washington. Anyway, we can't be sure until he's examined. We'll send him to Mrs. Sawyer.
Sawyer?
In personnel. She's paid to examine employees, isn't she? Now, by the way, what do you think of this?
What is it?
It's a full-page ad Macy's is running in tomorrow's newspapers.
Macy's is running it? But it's all about the other stores, Gimbel's, Saks, and...
I know. Mr. Macy's idea to help our customers find what they want. Revolting, isn't it?
That Santa Claus certainly has started something. Well, I'll get a hold of him in his lunch hour, and I'll send him up to Mrs. Sawyer.
Mrs. Walker said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Sawyer, so I changed my clothes and I came right up.
Ooh, then that's your own beard, eh?
Oh, yes.
Interesting complex in back of that. Why do you carry a cane?
Always carry a cane, Mrs. Sawyer. That is, when I wear street clothes. I carved this cane out of a runner from one of my sleighs.
What's that? What's that?
With a fine, solid gold top.
Who was the first president of the United States?
Oh, at least give me a difficult one, like who was vice president under John Quincy Adams.
I'm conducting this examination.
The answer is Daniel D. Tompkins. You're a rather nervous woman, aren't you? Do you get enough sleep?
My personal habits are of no concern of yours. Now, what hand am I holding up?
Right hand.
And how many fingers do you see?
3. Oh, dear. And you bite your nails.
Stand up. Feet together. Arms extended.
Muscular coordination test. Oh, I've taken dozens of these tests. Mrs. Sawyer, are you happy at home?
That will be all, Mr. Kringle. The examination is over.
Thank you.
And it may interest you to know that I've been happily married for 22 years. Very happily married.
Oh, delighted to hear it. Goodbye, Mrs. Sawyer.
Miss Braun.
Yes, Mrs. Sawyer.
You get Mrs. Walker on the line. I want to speak to her right away.
Yes, ma'am. But what about your husband? He's called 4 times already.
You tell my big fat husband to shut up and mind his own business.
Here's Mrs. Walker, ma'am.
Hello?
I was just going to call you, Mrs. Sawyer. There's a Dr. Pierce stopping by this afternoon at 3.
Who's Dr. Pierce?
He's the physician at the Brooks home. I thought we might discuss Mr. Kringle's case with him.
Oh, there's hardly any point in discussing it, Mrs. Walker. Obviously, the old man should be discharged. And so, Dr. Pierce, Kringle should be dismissed immediately and sent to a mental institution.
Oh, no, just a moment.
But he's deluded, saying that he's Santa Claus.
It's a delusion for good. I found that he only wants to be friendly and helpful.
His whole manner suggests aggressiveness. Why, look at the way he carries that cane. Mrs. Walker, naturally, I can't discharge that loony. So when he exhibits his maniacal tendencies, please realize the responsibility is completely yours.
Well, I'm right back where I started.
Mrs. Walker, I assure you, Kris Kringle is no maniacal tendencies. He has no maniacal tendencies.
But if there's the slightest possibility of his causing any trouble,
What trouble?
all that need happen is that a policeman asks Kris his name. Kris Kringle, clang clang, and Macy's Santa Claus lands in the psychopath ward.
Well, you can prevent that very simply. There must be someone here at the store who could rent him a room. Then they could both come to work together. I'd just as soon he avoided that long train ride to Long Island anyway.
You mean sort of take custody of him? Do you think Mr. Kringle would agree to that?
Oh, I'm sure he'll agree.
Well, in that case, consider it done. Now let's see, who do I know who I rent a room?
Everything all right, Mrs. Walker? I just saw Mrs. Sawyer racing down the hall in a frenzy. Why, that woman has more ticks than a honey-dipped poodle.
Dr. Pierce has just suggested that Kris take a room in town.
Why, I'd be delighted to offer my guest room, Mrs. Walker, as long as it's all right with Mrs. Shellhammer.
Oh, that's wonderful, Mr. Shellhammer. Thank you.
Delighted to help out. I'm sure it won't be a problem. I'll just make sure to fix her a martini double strength. You invite him to dinner. I'll call you tonight as soon as my wife is plastered at feeling gay.
Mr. Kringle, Mrs. Walker mentioned that you were looking for a place to stay in town.
Oh, that's right.
I'd be happy to offer you a spare bed in my apartment. You could ride to and from work with Mrs. Walker.
Yes, thanks. Oh, you're very kind. That would be wonderful. Give me a chance to really talk things over with her.
Hello?
It's me. Just a moment. Mrs. Shellhammer wants to speak with you. I made the martinis triple strength. Here you are, dear.
Thank you, darling. Hello. Hello.
No, dear. You're speaking into the wrong end.
Oh, darling, how silly of me.
Hello?
Oh, why, we would love to have Santa Claus stay with us. We think it would be we think it would be simply charming.
Oh, thank you. Could you hold on a moment? Mr. Kringle, the Shellhammers have offered you a lovely room in their apartment.
Oh, that's very kind of them. Thank them very much, but I'm going to be staying with Mr. Gailey.
Mr. Gailey?
Call me Fred.
I'm glad you're going to have dinner with us, Mr. Kringle.
Thank you, Susan.
I'm also very glad you're going to be staying next door with Mr. Gailey.
Why?
Because you're nice to talk to.
Oh, what a fine young man that Mr. Gailey is. Just think, allowing me to share his apartment, a mere stranger.
Shall I tell you what I did in school today?
Oh, by all means. Any games?
Yes, and a very silly game. They played zoo, and each child was supposed to be an animal. And there was this one boy, Homer, and he was supposed to be the zookeeper. And he said, "What kind of animal are you?" And I said, "I'm not an animal. I'm a girl." And he said, "Only animals allowed. Goodbye."
Well, why didn't you tell him that you were a lion or a bear?
Because I'm not a bear or a lion.
Yes, but the other children were only children, and they were pretending to be animals.
That makes the game so silly.
Well, of course, in order to play games, you need imagination.
Oh, that's when you see things that aren't really there.
Well, yes, but to me, imagination is a place all by itself. Now, you've heard of the French nation and the British nation. Well, this is the imagination. A very interesting place, too. How would you like to be able to make snowballs in the summertime, or be the Statue of Liberty in the morning, and in the afternoon fly south with a flock of geese?
I'm quite sure I'd like that. Yes, but
Oh, it's very simple. Anyway, the next time they play zoo, you can be a monkey.
I don't know how to be a monkey.
Oh, here, I'll show you. First, you bend over a little, like this. Let your arms hang loose, see?
Like this?
Then you put your tongue under your teeth like this.
Like this?
Oh, that's fine. Now you put your hand over here and start scratching. Oh, that's excellent, Susan, excellent. That's a fine bit of scratching as I've ever seen. Now start chattering.
Chattering?
Listen, see, and keep on scratching. Now then, we'll do it together. Chatter and scratch and chatter. Oh, right. You're doing beautifully. Susan, are you still awake?
Uh-huh.
I've just come in to say good night, Susan. About Christmas, there must be something that you'd like for Christmas.
Well, I've certainly thought about something, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, you have? What is it? Tell me.
It's right here on the night table. See? I tore this page out of a magazine. It's a picture of a house.
Oh, that's what you want. A doll's house. Colonial architecture.
No, not a doll's house, a real house.
A real house?
Yes, and if you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me.
Now, wait a minute, Susie. What could you possibly do with a big house?
Live in it with my mother. And I want a backyard with a great big tree to put a swing on, and a garden and a... Oh, well, I guess you can't get it, huh?
It's a very tall order, Susie. Could I keep this picture, just in case?
I guess so.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Gailey is expecting me. Good night, monkey.
Good night, Mr. Kringle.
Take whichever bed you want, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, you're very kind. Really. Tell me, Mr. Gailey, just what do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a lawyer. Hayslip, Sherman, and Mackenzie.
And you like living here in the city?
It's convenient, but someday I'd like to have a place on Long Island. I mean, not a big house, just one of those junior partner deals around Manahasset.
Oh, one of those little colonials, eh?
Yeah, a little colonial house would be swell.
You're quite fond of Mrs. Walker, aren't you?
Yeah, a lot of good it does me. She lives in a cast iron shell that's a little difficult to penetrate.
Oh, you must try harder, Mr. Gailey. Mrs. Walker and that child are a couple of lost souls, and it's up to us to help them. Oh, well. Shall I turn out the light?
Oh, no, I'm not going to be cheated out of this. All my life I've wondered about it, and now I'm going to find out. Does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers inside or outside of the covers?
Oh, outside, of course. Outside by all means. The cold air makes them grow.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Walker, come in.
Thank you, Mr. Macy. I've just heard something very exciting.
You have? Well, let me tell you something very exciting. Our policy of being kind to customers has tripled our sales.
That's wonderful, Mr. Macy, and Gimbals think so too.
Gimbals?
Gimbals is adopting the same policy,
Well, is that so?
and it gives me an idea. As long as Gimbals is doing the same thing, why not some pictures for the newspaper?
Pictures?
Yes, you and Mr. Gimbal shaking hands.
Shaking hands. R.H. Macy and Gimbal?
Well, yes.
Well, yes, why not? With Santa Claus. It's a great idea, Mrs. Walker. Macy and Gimbal shaking hands. That's enough pictures, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Gimbal?
Come on, RH. Now we'll go over to my store and get some really good pictures.
Oh, just a minute. I have something here for Santa Claus. Here you go, Mr. Kringle. A check in appreciation for all you've done.
Mr. Macy, huh? Well, that's most kind of you.
I didn't think you were that generous, RH. That's quite a check. What are you going to do with it, Mr. Kringle?
Well, I have a friend, a Dr. Pierce. He needs a new x-ray machine.
Buy the machine through the store. 10% discount.
Nonsense. Come over to Gimbals. We'll finish it at cost.
Keep it up, gentlemen. At this rate, my friend will have a whole new hospital.
How'd the pictures turn out, Mr. Kringle?
Oh, fine, Alfred, fine. How about a nice game of checkers during lunch?
No, not today, Chris. I don't feel so good.
What's the matter, Alfred?
Oh, nothing much. You remember I was telling you how I like to play Santa Claus over at the Y and give out packages to the kids? Well, I was telling Mrs. Sawyer about it, and she says that that's very bad. That psychologically it's all wrong.
Wrong? To be nice to children?
Well, she says that guys who play Santa Claus do it because when they was young, they must have done something bad, and now they do something they think is good to make up for it. See? It's what she calls a guilt complex.
Alfred, what else has she found wrong with you?
No, nothing much. Just that I hate my father. I didn't know I did, but she says I do.
Excuse me.
Hey, ain't you gonna have lunch?
What do you mean, breaking into my office like this?
Are you a licensed psychiatrist?
What business is it of yours?
I have great respect for psychiatry and great contempt for meddling amateurs who go around practicing it. Where did you graduate from? A correspondence school?
Shut up!
You ought to be horsewhipped, taking a boy like Alfred and filling him with complexes and phobias until he actually...
I think I'm better equipped to judge that than you.
Just because Alfred wants to be kind to children, you tell him he has a guilt complex.
Having the same delusion you couldn't possibly understand. And don't you wave that cane at me.
Either you stop analyzing Alfred, or I'll go straight to Mr. Macy and tell him what a contemptible fraud you are.
You get out of here. Just get out before I have you thrown out.
There's only one way to handle a woman like you. Well, maybe this will knock some sense into you.
Oh, help! Help! You've broken my vase.
Good day, Mrs. Sawyer.
Miss Braun! Miss Braun! Get the police! Get me Mrs. Walker! Get me the psychopathic ward at Bellevue Hospital!
You can see Mr. Kringle now, Mr. Gailey.
Thank you, nurse. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Fred.
Chris, I've been speaking to the doctors. They said they'd given you some tests.
Oh, yes. Same old tests.
Except this time you failed to pass them. Chris, you deliberately failed. Why?
Because I had great hopes, Fred. I had a feeling Mrs. Walker was beginning to believe in me, and now I discover she was only humoring me all the time.
But this wasn't Doris's idea at all. Mrs. Sawyer had you sent here before Doris even knew about it.
But why did she come to me and explain things?
Because she didn't want to hurt you.
Oh, it's not just Mrs. Walker. Take Mrs. Sawyer. Contemptible, dishonest, deceitful. Yet she's out there and I'm in here. Well, if that's normal, I don't want it.
But you can't just think about yourself. I mean, what happens to you matters to a lot of people. People like me who believe in what you stand for. And people like Susie, who's just beginning to. Kris, you're letting us down.
Maybe you're right. Oh, of course you're right. I ought to be ashamed of myself. Let's get out of here.
Oh, now wait a minute. You flunked your mental examination, but good.
Oh, yes, so I did. Well, you're a lawyer. You can fix it.
Hey, now look.
I won't let you down, and you won't let me down.
Kris, take it easy, will you? Now, look, there'll have to be a hearing. If you're going to be committed, it'll have to go before a judge.
Well,
if I can do anything at all, it'll have to be in that courtroom. So sit tight, Kris. I'll get an idea. I'll have to get an idea.
You sent for me, Mr. Macy?
I certainly did, Mrs. Sawyer. I brought my family to the toy department to see our Santa Claus, and our Santa Claus isn't there. He's in Bellevue.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Macy.
Because he's a lunatic.
Oh, yes, sir. Lunatic.
Lunatic, my foot. You listen to me, Mrs. Sawyer. You get that case dropped right away, or you'll have more than a broken vase to deal with.
But it's out of my hands. Mr. Kringle goes to court this morning.
Well, just see that he's back in the toy department by afternoon. Now get out of here.
Mr. Gailey! Oh, Mr. Gailey!
Yes?
I've been looking all over for you. I'm Mrs. Sawyer.
Oh, so you're Mrs. Sawyer.
Yes, I was just speaking to the court clerk and he said you represent Mr. Kringle. Well, I represent Mr. Macy.
Well, then I'll see you in court.
Well, that's just what I wanted to speak to you about. Mr. Macy would like to drop the whole case right now. You see, we're most anxious to avoid publicity.
No publicity, huh? Well, that's very interesting.
Then you'll cooperate?
You know something, Mrs. Sawyer? You've just given me the idea I've been searching for.
Oh, good, good.
If I'm going to win this case, I'm going to have public opinion and plenty of it. And publicity is just the way to do it. Thanks, and so long, Mrs. Sawyer.
Oh, Mr. Gailey, but Mr. Gailey!
Look at these newspapers, Kris. Here, Evening Dispatch. Doctors doubt sanity of Santa who launched Goodwill campaign.
oh my.
Daily Bulletin. Macy's Santa to have lunacy hearing.
Oh, what's this one?
The New York Star.
Is Kris Kringle crazy? Court case coming, kiddies cry calamity.
You've driven the United Nations clear back to page 5. Get a good night's sleep, Kris. We go before Judge Harper at 10 tomorrow morning. We'll return with Miracle on 34th Street in just a moment. When a new young starlet signs a contract with 20th Century Fox, she soon is destined for a meeting with Helena Sorrell, head dramatic coach. Helena, do you enjoy watching your pupils perform in a picture?
Yes, of course, William, because I take a personal interest in them. I'm particularly proud of Betty Grable in a new picture when my baby smiles at me.
Betty has turned into a very fine dramatic actress.
She certainly has. She and Dan Daly are a marvelous pair as vaudeville hoofers, and Betty's costumes gave me a thrill. I was amazed at how many things the wardrobe department was able to wash with Lux Flakes. It reminded me of my theatrical days when I was on the road and living in a couple of trunks.
Oh, with a box of Lux Flakes in each?
Oh, that's absolutely true, William. I was never without it, in the hotel or at the theater.
Well, then you probably know all about the new tiny diamonds of Lux. They're so much faster and richer. They do more for you, too. They remove soil that other products can't.
Yes, and whenever I soil a garment, I luxed it right away, and it looked just like new again.
Actual tests show garments last 3 times longer when they're gently washed with Lux.
That's a good tip for girls who receive lovely blouses and sweaters this Christmas.
Thank you, Miss Helena Sorel. In just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a short break. This is also the intermission for our radio play. So please use this 5 minutes to get a refreshment, but be sure to come back so as not to miss the bit of holiday magic brought to you by the makers of Lux Flakes. We now pause for station identification and a message from a special guest.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Wow. Isn't it great to see Chapel Street Players back in action? We're excited to be keeping the arts alive, albeit virtually, with this latest theatrical performance. I just love seeing good theater, even if for now it's in the safety and comfort of my living room. I'm Dr. Renee G. O'Leary, and I have been involved with Chapel Street Players for, well, let's just say a long time. There's always a first for everything, and 2020 is certainly no exception. Like you, I would love to be back in our little playhouse on Chapel Street, and we look forward to when we can reopen. As always, we could not provide live theater on stage or screen without the generous support of the community, or in this case, viewers like you. Our virtual entertainment this fall is being brought to you for free. However, we greatly appreciate any contribution you're able to make to help keep Chapel Street Player and the arts alive during these turbulent times. As Chapel Street is an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization, donations are tax deductible in accordance with state and federal laws. Finally, on behalf of Chapel Street's board, volunteers, and patrons, I thank you and wish you all the best. Happy holidays.
years of all the years are met in these good night. Holy night, peaceful night, through the darkness sees the light. Yonder where they sleep, it will be for the one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in 5, 4, 3. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back to Lux Radio Theater's presentation of Miracle on 34th Street, sponsored by Lever Brothers, the makers of Lux Flakes. As we promised earlier in the program, we're going to teach you how to make snow for your Christmas tree with Lux Flakes. And here to explain how to accomplish this magic are Helena Sorrell and once again, Libby Collins.
You can give your tree that just out of the woods look by covering your tree with real looking snow you make yourself using Lux Flakes.
Listen carefully.
Take a large box of Lux Flakes. Gradually add 2 cups of warm water. Beat with an egg beater until it has the consistency of whipped cream. While moist, with your fingers, spread the mixture over the branches of your tree. And that's all.
Ooh, this snowy covering dries quickly. It won't melt and lasts as long as your tree.
I can't think of any other Christmas decoration that costs so little and yet does so much for your tree. It looks lovely used just with tree lights, or you can add your usual ornaments if you prefer.
Oh, let the children help. They'll love doing it and love the indoor snow. Try it on your mantle decorations and table arrangements as well. It gives them a very professional look and makes the whole house look more Christmassy.
Ask your dealer for a copy of this Christmas snow recipe. And now, Act 3 of Miracle on 34th Street. For a few weeks, a jolly elderly gentleman has been working minor miracles as the Santa Claus of Macy's department store. But now his sanity has been seriously questioned. In a crowded courtroom, Judge Harper listens patiently as the assistant district attorney summons Kris to the witness stand.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise. The Honorable Judge Henrietta Harper presiding.
Now, this is not a trial, Mr. Kringle. It's just a hearing. You don't have to answer any questions.
No, but I want to answer.
Now then, where do you live, please?
Well, it seems to me that's what this hearing will decide, won't it?
Proceed, District Attorney Mara.
Mr. Kringle, do you believe that you are Santa Claus?
Oh, of course I do.
That's all, Your Honor. The state rests its case.
Well, Mr. Gailey?
Your Honor, Mr. Mara contends that my client is not sane because he believes he's Santa Claus.
An entirely logical conclusion.
Anyone who thinks he's Santa Claus is crazy.
Your Honor, You believe yourself to be Judge Harper, yet no one questions your sanity because you are Judge Harper. Do they?
Mr. Kringle is the subject of this sanity hearing, not I.
Well, Your Honor, I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Mr. Mara, I thought you said that this was a cut and dried sanity hearing.
I thought it was, Your Honor.
In view of Mr. Gailey's statement, I'll have to review the entire background of this case. Court adjourned till tomorrow morning.
Hello, Doris. Sorry I'm late, but get ready. We're really going to celebrate tonight.
What are we celebrating?
Didn't you read the papers? Santa's lawyer throws bombshell in New York Supreme Court.
Fred, you're not really serious about this. You can't possibly prove that Kris is Santa Claus.
You saw Mr. Macy and Mr. Gimble shake hands. That wasn't possible either.
And what does your firm have to say about it? Hayslip, McKinsey, and the rest of them.
Well, that I've jeopardized their prestige, and either that I drop this impossible case or they'll drop me.
You see?
So I beat him to it. I quit.
Fred, you threw away your career because of a sentimental whim?
I'll open up my own office.
And what kind of clients will you get?
Probably a lot of people like Kris who are being pushed around. That's the only fun in the law anyway. Doris, look, don't you have any faith in me at all?
It's not a question of faith. It's common sense.
But faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. It's not just Kris that's on trial. It's everything that he stands for. Human kindness and love and joy and all the other intangibles.
Oh, Fred, you're talking like a child. You're living in a realistic world, and all those lovely intangibles of yours are attractive, but they're not worth very much. You don't get ahead that way.
Well, that all depends on what you mean by getting ahead. Evidently, you and I have different definitions.
Fred, listen, we've seen a lot of each other the last couple of weeks, and we've talked about some wonderful plans, haven't we? And then you do this, you go on an idealistic binge, throw away your security, and expect me to be happy about it?
I expect too much, is that it? Look, Doris, someday you're going to find your way of facing this realistic world doesn't work. And when you do, don't overlook those lovely intangibles. You'll discover they're the only things that are worthwhile. Good night.
Hello? Yes, this is Mr. Mora. Well, can't I wait till tomorrow? I'm meeting. Wait, who's been subpoenaed? Well, how do you think I feel about it? I'll see you tomorrow.
Who's that, dear?
R.H. Macy has been subpoenaed.
Oh, my.
Those reporters, they make me look like a sadistic monster who likes nothing better than to drown pussycats and tear wings off butterflies.
Quiet, dear. Tommy's still awake.
Oh yeah.
It would just break his heart if he knew what his daddy was doing.
I'm doing my job as assistant district attorney.
Well, I'm not so sure, but that I agree with them. Mr. Kringle looks like a very nice old man, and I don't see why you have to keep persecuting him.
I'm not persecuting him. I'm prosecuting him. I like the old man too, but there's nothing I can do about it.
You know something, Thomas? Sometimes I wish I'd married a butcher or a plumber.
Well, if I lose this case, it's very possible you'll get your wish. R.H. Macy, huh? I wonder what he's going to pull tomorrow.
Proceed with the witness, Mr. Gailey.
Now then, Mr. Macy, if you recognize the defendant, please tell us who he is.
Why, it's Kris Kringle, of course.
Do you believe him to be of sound mind?
Sound mind? I wish I had a dozen like him.
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Macy's under oath.
Sustained.
Does Mr. Macy believe that man is Santa Claus?
Well, now, that's a rather delicate kind of...
Careful, R.H. Just think of the headlines tomorrow. Macy admits his Santa Claus is a fraud. Fraud.
Answer the question, Mr. Macy.
You shut up and keep out of this, Gimbal.
Oh, what did you say, Mr. Macy?
Oh, nothing, Your Honor.
Answer the question, Mr. Macy. Is that man Santa Claus?
Yes, in my opinion, he most certainly is.
Objection, Your Honor. There's no such person as Santa Claus, and everybody knows it.
Can you prove that there isn't any?
I won't even try. This is not a nursery. This is the New York Supreme Court. I'll not waste the court's time with such childish nonsense. Your Honor, the prosecution requests an immediate ruling from this court. Is there or is there not a Santa Claus?
Well, now the court will take a short recess to consider the question.
Hello, Henrietta.
Why, Charlie Holleran, what are you doing here?
Oh, can an old friend visit you in your chambers? And if you ask me, you never needed a friend like you do now.
This Kris Kringle case? Well, I certainly don't see what you're making such a fuss about.
Henrietta, that Santa Claus you got out there on trial for lunacy? This case is dynamite, and you're coming up for re-election soon.
What are you saying?
Look, Henrietta, I'm no legal brain trust. I don't know a habeas from a corpus, but I do know politics. That's my racket. I got you elected, didn't I?
Charlie, you know what happened last night? Martha brought the grandchildren over, and they wouldn't kiss Grandma. They wouldn't even talk to me.
Now, you see what I mean? If you rule there is no Santa Claus, this whole town is going to turn you into a regular Pontius Pilate.
I'm a responsible judge. I mean, how can I seriously rule that there is a Santa Claus?
Well, because of what happens if you don't. The kids read about it and don't hang up the stockings. Now, what happens to all the toys that are supposed to be in them stockings? Nobody buys them. The toy manufacturers have to lay off employees. Union employees, and they're going to adore you for it. By now, you've got the CIO and the AFL against you. And they're going to say it with votes, see? Oh, and the department stores are going to love you too. And the Christmas card makers and the candy companies, yes, sir, Henrietta, you're going to be an awful popular gal. And what about the Salvation Army? Oh, they got a Santa Claus on every corner. They take in a lot of money to help the poor. Oh, but you go ahead, Henrietta. You go in there and rule that there isn't any Santa Claus. But if you do, you can count on just getting 2 votes, your own and that district attorney's out there.
1 vote, Charlie. The district attorney's a Republican. Oh, well, let's get this over with. The question of Santa Claus seems to be largely a matter of opinion. The tradition of American justice demands a broad and unprejudiced view of such a controversial matter.
But, Your Honor.
This court, therefore, intends to keep an open mind. We shall ask for evidence on either side.
But the burden of proof clearly rests with my opponent. Can he produce evidence to support his views?
If Your Honor, please, I can. Will Thomas Mara please take the stand?
Who, me?
No, Thomas Merritt Jr. I believe he and his mother are both here in court today.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi.
Tommy, you know the difference between telling the truth and telling a lie, don't you?
Gosh, yes. Everybody knows you shouldn't tell a lie, especially in court.
Tommy, do you believe in Santa Claus?
I sure do. Gosh, he gave me a brand new flexible flyer sled last year.
Now, what does Santa Claus look like, Tommy?
Well, there he is. I mean, he's sitting right over there.
Your Honor, I protest.
Overruled.
Tell me, Tommy, why are you so sure that there's a Santa Claus?
Because my daddy told me so. Didn't you, Daddy?
And you believe your daddy, don't you, Tommy? He's a very honest man.
Of course he is. My daddy wouldn't tell me anything that wasn't so. Would you, Daddy?
Thank you, Tommy. You can go back to your mother now.
See you later, Daddy.
You certainly will. Your Honor.
Don't forget, Santa. This year I want an official football helmet.
Oh, don't worry, Tommy. You'll get it.
Mr. Kringle, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Your Honor, the state of New York concedes the existence of Santa Claus. But in so conceding, we demand that Mr. Gailey stop presenting personal opinion as evidence. I insist he submit authoritative proof that Mr. Kringle here is the one and only Santa Claus.
Well, Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus on the basis of non-prejudiced authority?
Well, no, not now. I need a little more time.
Why not now?
Tomorrow, Your Honor?
Very well. Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning. Whew.
Now come, Susan, dear. Finish your supper.
But I can't, Mother. All those things they're saying in the newspapers about Mr. Kringle and Mr. Gailey.
They're having this trial because he says he's Santa Claus.
He's so kind and nice and jolly, and he's not like anyone else I know. He must be Santa.
You know something? I think perhaps you're right.
Is Mr. Kringle sad now, Mother?
I'm afraid he must be.
Then I'll write him a letter. Maybe that'll make him feel better. Dear Mr. Kringle, my mother says that you are sad. I'm writing to you because I want you to be happy again and to tell you that I believe all you told me. Don't worry, everything will turn out fine. I even believe you will get me the present I asked for. Yours truly, Susan.
Oh, postman! Postman!
Yeah, lady?
Would you mind taking this letter?
Oh, sure, lady. We're going straight down to the post office now. Okay, Louie, back it up and take it away. What do you know, Louie? Another letter for Santa Claus. Here's a new one. Instead of North Pole, This kid's got it addressed to Kris Kringle, New York County Courthouse.
Well, the kid's right.
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. They got him on trial down there. He claims he's Santa Claus. The DA claims he's nuts.
Hey, I got an idea. How many Santa Claus letters we got down there in the dead letter office?
Well, who knows? Maybe 50,000? Bags and bags all over the joint. You mean...
But Frankie, why not? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of them all? Wouldn't it?
Oh, boy, oh, boy. Look, Louie, soon as we get to the post office, we go and see the supervisor. You know something? I bet we both get promoted.
And since the defense has been unable to submit one shred of proof that Kris Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus, and since tonight is Christmas Eve, I ask Your Honor that this hearing be terminated without further delay.
Well, Mr. Gailey,
I protest. I do have evidence.
5 minutes ago you said you didn't.
During Mr. Mara's oration, the bailiff handed my client the evidence I referred to.
What evidence?
This letter, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Kringle.
It's from Susan Walker. She believes in me. This letter means more to me than anything in the world.
This letter was delivered by the United States Post Office, an official agency of the federal government. The Post Office Department is one of the largest business concerns in the world. Last year, it did a gross volume of over $1 billion. And this year, it's on track.
I'm sure we're all gratified that the post office is getting along so well. But what bearing has it on the sanity of that man?
My point is that the Post Office Department is the model of efficiency. Furthermore, the laws of this country make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or to intentionally deliver it to the wrong party.
The state of New York is second to none in its admiration of the Post Office Department. We are very happy to concede Mr. Gailey's claims.
For the record, Mr. Mara?
For the record, anything to get on with this case.
Thank you. Your Honor, the letter just received by Mr. Kringle is proof positive that a competent and
one letter is hardly proof positive.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Now, come, Mr. Gailey. Put them on my desk.
But, Your Honor,
I said put them on my desk.
All right. Boys, bring them in.
Your Honor, what is this?
Empty those sacks on Judge Harper's desk.
Oh, but we got 6 truckloads out there.
Bring them in or be fined in contempt of court.
Now, just a second here.
Through rain, through sleet.
Through courtrooms, anywhere, we deliver.
Mr. Gailey.
Your Honor, every one of those letters in every one of those mail sacks is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office has delivered them here. Therefore, the Post Office Department, an official branch of the United States government, recognizes Kris Kringle to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute it. Case dismissed.
Good job, Henrietta.
I got to get that helmet.
Doris, thank you so much for being in court today. It meant so much to me.
Just like I said at the bottom of Susan's letter, Kris. I believe in you too.
We're having a big Christmas party at the Brooks home tomorrow morning. I'd like so much to see you and Susan there.
We'll be there, Kris. And couldn't you come home now and have dinner with us?
Now? Tonight? My goodness, Doris. It's Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas!
Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
You and your family.
Alfred, look who came all the way out here to the home just for our Christmas party.
Hey, Kris, it's Mr. Macy. Merry Christmas, Kris. And Mr. Shellhammer's here, too.
The missus and I are very glad indeed to spend Christmas with Santa.
Cheers, Santa.
Kris! Oh, Dr. Pierce. Kris, this brand new X-ray machine. Oh, thank you. Well, all I can say is New York Supreme Court declared you to be Santa Claus, and personally and professionally, I agree. Oh, thank you, Doctor. Has anyone seen Mrs. Walker? I believe she and Susie will be leaving shortly, so I must say goodbye to them. Will you excuse me?
But Susie, darling, you got so many presents.
Not the one I wanted. Not the one Mr. Kringle was going to get for me.
Well, what was it?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I knew I wouldn't get it. I just thought he'd at least tell me why.
Susie. Oh, I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best, but
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus.
Susan!
Just a nice old man with whiskers like my mother said, and I shouldn't have believed you.
But I was wrong when I told you that. You must believe in Mr. Kringle and keep right on doing it. You must have faith in him.
That doesn't make any sense, Mommy.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
Huh?
I mean, just because things don't turn out the way you want them to the first time, you still have to believe in people. I found that out.
Hello, Doris.
Fred.
Mr. Gailey.
Merry Christmas, Susie.
Gosh, you just got here, and we're ready to leave.
I've been here, and if you're ready to leave, I'll be happy to drive you home.
Excuse me, before you go, here's a map I've made for you. If you follow this, you'll miss a lot of traffic. About 4 miles south, you'll see Ashley Avenue. That's the street you want, Ashley Avenue.
Thanks, Kris.
Merry Christmas to you, Fred, and to you, my dear. Oh, and to you, Susie.
I believe. Oh, it's silly, but I believe.
I don't understand it, Fred. This map Kris gave us definitely says Ashley Avenue, and well, we've been on Ashley Avenue for what seems to be like...
Stop the car, Mr. Gailey! Stop the car, please!
Susie, darling, what is it? What's the matter?
There it is! The house! The house!
Susie!
What in the world?
She's running into that house.
At least there's no one home. It's brand new. Well, it looks like it's just been built.
Yeah, for sale. It says for sale.
That's strange.
I'll say.
No. I mean this house. I've seen this house somewhere. I know I have. Maybe in a magazine or... What on earth is that child up to?
Susie! Hey, Susie!
Here I am! Upstairs!
Come right down now! You know you shouldn't run around in other people's houses.
But this is my house, Mommy! The one I asked Mr. Kringle for. It is! I know it is!
Mr. Kringle?
My room upstairs is just like I knew it would be. Oh, you were right, Mommy. You were right!
Susie!
Mommy told me if things don't turn out just the way you wanted them at first, you've still got to believe. And I kept believing. And you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Now where are you going?
In the back to see if there's a swing. Oh, there is one. There is one.
You told her about that? About believing?
Well, you told me, Fred, and
The sign outside. For sale, huh? Well, we can't let her down, can we?
I never really doubted you. It was just my silly common sense.
Well, it even makes sense to believe in me now. I must be a pretty good lawyer. I take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. And now you know that I couldn't
Fred,
just... What's the matter?
there, in the corner, by the fireplace.
Oh, no. No.
It can't be. It couldn't.
A cane. Chris's cane. Well, there couldn't be two canes like this anywhere in the world.
Gold handle and all.
Hey, you know something? Maybe it wasn't me who did such a wonderful thing after all.
Ho, ho, ho!